I need to use my phone, but it doesn't work. I need to have any other headphones.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Irn-Cru, an NFL podcast made in Scotland, discussing America's game. Week 14 is just around the corner, so it's time for the preview crew. I'm your host, Dan, and joining me tonight are some of the finest crew members and a very special guest. After his team just doing enough over and over this season, it finally wasn't enough, Kev. I hope your performance this week you can get it over the line.
Yeah, you and me. Well, I'm sure you don't mean that, Dan, but I certainly do.
With the chat about the Vikings changing their quarterback after the bye week being put to bed, I do wonder who dobbed in Joshua to the media to cause the rumours. Craig, how are you?
Not bad at all, mate. Not bad. It was Christmas jumper day today, so I'm rocking my Vikings jumper.
Love it.
Representing. So, doing good, bud, doing good.
Excellent, glad to hear it. Now, this man here, I should give him loads of love, but I'm just insanely jealous right now. So the best he can make do with is with a nice intro. Fresh back from Texas, following a trip over for Thanksgiving. It's Paul. Welcome back, Paul.
Absolute pleasure to be here, guys. Good to see you all again.
How was Texas?
It was exhausting. So there for the Thanksgiving game, a game I barely remember besides the pick six from Bland and Dolly Parton, and obviously the frustration of the Seahawks game. But we ended up getting the win. But other than that, it was fantastic. Good to see a lot of familiar faces over the years back in Arlington and just in Central Dallas and that. So it was good. Lot of good catching up.
I got to remember the pictures looked amazing. Anybody that's not following Paul on Twitter, we've dropped his Twitter account into the thread tonight, so get following, see all his pictures for Thanksgiving. There's a few crackers in there, especially with a very special Stetson on his head as well.
Oh yeah, and almost kissing Des Bryant. Jesus,
not a bad thing, to be fair.
Well, I suppose so in a way, but it was just the way how the picture came out. It looked as though I'm going in for the kiss in the cheek.
Did they drop you?
No.
Right, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to Scud's going to join us in a wee while, and he'll cover the second game off for us. So we'll give him his intro when he gets here, because I've an intro written for Scud for the last 3 weeks. It's the same one. I've kept it for the same last 3 weeks because I love it. And every time I've had it, he's not been here. Anyway, guys, we're going to start with our usual kick-off question. Now, I've shamelessly stole this one, guys. I'm going to admit it. I stole it from the review crew. The guys done this, and it's a great one. So we're just going to steal it so we can talk about the same things. Well, obviously, NFL won't go through the My Cleats section of the season. For those that don't know what that is, basically all the players team up with it's Nike, I think usually, isn't it? And they basically design their own cleats around a cause. It really kind of means a lot to them. It could be a charity they support, or it could be their own foundation. So they design these cleats, some absolutely cracking designs that you see, just to raise awareness for charity. So we're going to do our own version of it tonight. So we've got the Crew Cleats, Crew Cause. That's what we're going for tonight. So basically, guys, what I want to hear from you guys is a charity or a cause that's it means something to you, that if you are going to design some cleats for, who would it be? Craig, start with yourself.
Yeah, so the charity I've picked is called Circle. They support families in Scotland, that face multiple disadvantages, be it through poverty, be it through physical and mental health, various issues, and they've recently been doing a big kind of Christmas drive where you can donate Christmas bags with gifts for disadvantaged kids. So we've put a couple of bags together for that to donate. Really good cause, especially this time of year. You don't want to see any kids not getting the magic of Christmas. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant charity. More than happy to promote that on the pod. So yeah, that would be ours, my charity of choice.
Excellent. It's good to hear it. Paul, what about yourself?
For me, I'm going to look a little bit different because I'm a big, massive dog lover. So mine is the Dogs Trust. I've been supporting the Dogs Trust for quite a long time, giving donations for maybe the past year or so. And yeah, and like I said, I'm a big, massive dog lover, and I just hate seeing just basically like dogs just without a home type of thing. So I know it's not your typical like charity where it's like for sickness and that, but I'm just a big animal advocate, like for dogs, pretty much. So that's who I have went for, is the Dogs Trust.
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. It doesn't matter if it's kids, adults, dogs, animals, anything like that. Any cause is worthwhile.
Yep.
And having met you and your dog, it was I can see you're very much in love with the dog. The dog's into American football as well. It's brilliant. He's got it.
I actually just bought my Dak Prescott jersey as well.
Nice.
No, can't beat it. Kev, I know you've done this on Monday for the review crew, but feel free to repeat the same one you had to give them another shout out, or if you've got a second cause, let us know.
Yeah, well, I was actually glad when you said you were doing this again, because I found it really tough to just pick one charity last time. So I figured I would give a different charity a shout out this time. And it's funny because I was disappointed on the last one that nobody picked a children's charity. So I've purposely picked a children's charity this time, and then Smudger goes ahead and shouts one out right at the start. It's typical. But mine's would be Cash for Kids. Similar to what Smudger said. There's a lot of kids that are really suffering through poverty, and they do a lot of really good work in Glasgow and the West for that. And the cost of living crisis that we're all suffering just now is only making that 10 times worse. There's stats floating about that there's like 1 in 2 children in Glasgow are living in poverty, and that's just ridiculous. So my second shout out goes to Cash for Kids.
Yeah, Cash for Kids have always done great things across the whole of Scotland. Loads of kind of things through Radio Clyde and Forth and all the other ones that they've got that they raise loads of money. It is a great cause, especially at this time of year, as both you and Craig said. What I'm going to go for is a wee bit different, guys. It's kind of a family connection for me, so I'm not going to get into too much detail of what it involves, but there's a charity there called the Turner Syndrome Support Society, who help women and women and girls across the world, but there's a charity in each country. Basically, it's a chromosome abnormality they've got, and they're always just trying to raise awareness because there's loads of women, and it only affects females, and there's loads of women and girls out there that don't know they've got this, and some of the conditions that could cause are life-threatening or potentially life-changing. So they go through the whole life not knowing that this is what effectively is going on with them, because the awareness out there isn't great. So it's something that my aunt has, and she wasn't diagnosed until she was in her 30s, which is just crazy to not be diagnosed with something you've had from birth till you're in your 30s. So that's a charity I'll be supporting as well. So guys, some great causes across tonight and Monday night. We've named quite a lot of good charities and across kids, adults, animals, everything that need the support. And Brian was the lifeboats as well. So what we're going to do, folks, is a wee bit of AI magic tomorrow. I am going to try and magic up cleats for everybody's named charity, and we'll get a wee thread out on the Twitter tomorrow, on Instagram maybe, with all these an individual post for everybody's charity with hopefully a cleat that looks decent. So that's my job tomorrow when I'm supposed to be working. So guys, thanks for all that, and I think it's a great time of year, especially to do this. It was great. It was a great shout Monday night, and when I heard the guys talking about it, I thought, yeah, we need to continue that this week. So something to looking forward to something that the crew are going to get involved in, is some sort of charity and then going some support charities. So watch this space, as I'll say. Hey guys, let's take it from a more serious tone to the nonsense that we normally talk. We're going to start with the games, guys. So this week we're going to flip it over a wee bit. Paul is kindly giving his time tonight. He's a busy man. He has his UK Cowboys podcast tonight as well. So he's come on here. That's why we're on a wee bit earlier tonight. So what we do is we're going to flip it over, and we're actually going to start with Game of the Week this week, which obviously is why Paul and Kev are both here tonight. Kev, this is unusual for you to be on a Thursday night, so thanks for joining us. So basically, we've got one of the biggest rivalries in the NFL. The Cowboys currently lead the head-to-head 73-56. However, the Eagles will be looking to sweep the Cowboys for the first time since 2011. Paul, we'll kick off with yourself. From a Cowboys point of view, how's this one going to play out?
If Dallas plays the way they have been in the past 5 games, then I can see Dallas win the game. It really just depends on how the mentality going towards this game. Really, like they've got the 10 days off because they played back-to-back Thursday night football games, so they've had more time to recover. And Kev, you can correct me on this. I believe the Eagles have got some injury concerns with some players at the moment. So I think that could play a massive factor going into this game. So if that's kind of going based on that, then I would expect Dallas to win, but nothing is ever guaranteed, especially when it comes to one of these big games where it comes to Cowboys and the Eagles, because as we've seen it in previous years, anything can happen.
Yeah, definitely can. I mean, and obviously there's so many Cowboys players that have stood out this year, Paul. Obviously you've watched us up close, been there last week. Who obviously we've got the usual ones that kind of we can pick on: Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. We've spoken a lot about in this podcast about Deron Bland, but what player from the Cowboys, especially on offense this year, has kind of either surprised you or kind of maybe came out and you thought, actually, I wasn't expecting that from you this season?
To be perfectly honest, I was really surprised with Brandon Cooks. And the reason I'm saying that is there was the high expectation of him being a 1,000-yard wide receiver, being very consistent for multiple teams, from with the Patriots to the Saints to the Texans, etc. He didn't really have the best of start, and all of a sudden we've managed to find him utilized under this West Coast, Texas Coast offense, and he's just been gun-ho in the past 3 or 4 games. So that to me has been the biggest surprise, that the fact that it took us so long to find him where he should be in the correct play calls. So yeah. I think that's something to really take in consideration, especially if you're scouting for the Cowboys from the Eagles perspective. That's one thing you need to consider for is Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was last week or before, I kind of pointed out that he just seemed to, like, I kind of gave him a disservice by saying he appeared out of nowhere, but he really did, because he'd been there and he'd made the odd catch here and there, but for some reason, like you said, something just clicked with either with him and Dak or whatever, and he suddenly started making these big catches. He's getting more of the ball. And obviously, building up chemistry with a quarterback and a wide receiver takes a bit of time. It's not something you're going to get instantly, but it's went from basically nothing to everything, which is great from a Cowboys point of view. I'm not going to lie.
Absolutely. And if there's one thing about the going on Mike McCarthy under his full season being the offensive coordinator as well, it's like we knew going into the season it was going to be a matter of time for the players to really click, to really get on board, because it's a completely different offensive system to what Kellen Moore was trying to produce. But yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, especially in these past 5 weeks offensively. We're putting more points on the board. We're one of the highest scoring offenses on the NFL right now. There is still some wee issues with wide receiver, tight ends in general, dropping passes and stuff like that. That's the only thing that I could really nail down. And obviously, I still have my minor concerns with our run game. Do we think Tony Pollard is the guy to do it? Me personally, I would put more Rico Dowdle in there as your power back to really stamp that if you're trying to run it down the middle.
Yeah, that was good. I was going to look at the stats, and that was going to be my next point. So we'll run through quickly. So stats this season: Cowboys number 1 ranked for points per game, number 5 for yards per game, number 3 for points per play. I mean, third down conversion, number 2 in the league, number 1 for pass completion in the league. So I mentioned about drops here. We're still 70% pass completion, number 1 in the league. Passing yards per game, 3rd in the league. Do you know what I mean? So the offensive stats are starting to look very impressive. And like you say, the running game's not great. We're 9th in the league in rushes per game, 20th yards per rush, and 16th. 11th for TDs and rushing yards. So somebody that I did mention again, you're stealing on my thunder here, Paul. You've been listening to me. Rico Dowdle, yeah, I have been impressed with him the last couple of weeks. He's been getting more touches. Tell me more about him.
Yeah, so Rico Dowdle, so I didn't expect Rico Dowdle to be in the roster, if I'm being perfectly honest, until I spoke to 103.5 The Fans, Brian Broaddus. We had him on the show for the UK Cowboys, and he was kind of explaining to us, listen, watching him in training camp, he is going to be the running back number 2, because I was quite surprised. I would have thought it would have been like your Ronald Jones, who we brought in from Tampa Bay, and obviously with the drafting Deuce Vaughn. But obviously Deuce Vaughn is still in developmental mode, really, let's be honest. Because obviously he needs to build up his more physical character to really sustain being in the pros. It's not college football anymore. So I think with Dowdle, he is a massive running back when you really do see him. But Yeah, I really think that type of dynamic, because he is bringing what Zeke did bring, was the physicality, and a lot of people are tend to say, did we regret letting Zeke go? I would say yes, because we are lacking that physicality when it comes to rushing the ball. Like Tony Parla is definitely more that elusive type of style running back, likes to run to the outside quite a lot and catch the screen passes and just really make linebackers and corners miss quite a lot. Whereas like Dowdo, he's not afraid to take on tackles and just keep his feet moving. So I've been very impressed by Dowdo so far, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of, I don't necessarily think we're going to regret letting Elliott go as a player himself, but the style of player, I think, yes, definitely. And obviously, the coaches have had a lot of confidence in Dowdo, which is why when it came to, there was a few players in free agency that we could have picked up that were that power running back, that were sitting there, that we could have went and got them and got them a 1 year deal. Running backs aren't expensive this season, so we could have picked somebody up to be that power back if we wanted to. But it looks like Dowdo's kind of starting to show why the coaches had the faith in him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that Brian Broaddus always says is always trust the process. Like the Cowboy staff know what they're doing. They obviously sees like design plays, especially for this West Coast offense, to really bring out the best out of these players. So it's all about how we utilize certain players depending on whatever formation that we're in, etc., etc. If it's like single back or you've got the halfback, like half slanted more to the side to the quarterback. All those different scenarios, different reads, all plays a big massive factor, especially how the O-line are assigned to their blocks as well.
Yeah, no, I've been impressed with him. But no, but I'll say the ball, Craig, when you come yourself for this one, we can obviously, I've given Deron Bland as much love as he could possibly get on this podcast, especially the last couple of weeks anyway. But from a Cowboys defensive point of view, what kind of you like this season from them?
Well, you've got to look at like their standout sack leader, Micah Parsons, as well. 11.5 sacks. He's been absolutely tremendous for the Cowboys. Obviously, we've talked about Bland before about the records he's broken. He's been absolutely fantastic as well, not just on his interceptions, but the number of pick sixes he's managed, the points he's managed to pick up for the Cowboys. So defensively, this is going to be a massive matchup against the Eagles. Huge task for them. Interesting. Just preparation-wise, I was reading about Mike McCarthy. I had to realise he had an emergency appendectomy on Wednesday, which was a bit of a standout.
And he's expected to come back as well.
Aye, he's expected to come back. So yeah, whether he's been relaying defensive instructions to these guys while he's been in his sick bed, but yeah, it looks like he'll be back and he'll be on the sideline as well. But certainly, yeah, Parsons is the other standout apart from Bland, as you'd mentioned, Dan. Also, the tackle leaders as well, guys like Damone Clark, also been performing really well for the Cowboys. I was going to jump on my point just when you were talking on the offensive side of the ball, Paul, just about you've got guys like CeeDee Lamb who have been that massive standout, like yardage-wise, head and shoulders above the rest of the team. But you're talking about guys like Cooks who are starting to kind of push that a little bit more. I think it's three touchdowns he's had in the past 4 games. If they can spread that out, if that can spread that out a little bit more, that's obviously going to be a big advantage because up until now, Lamb has been that standout receiver, but it's going to. The more he's going to be covered, the more opportunity there's going to be for these other guys. So the fact that they're finding form at the right time is probably a good thing, and it's going to give the Eagles something to really think about as well. How is that going to be distributing the ball, and possibly with the run game as well? Guys like Dowdle, his stats maybe don't leap off the page so far in terms of his yards per attempt, but you made a really good point about the type of running he's doing, in really tough situations where you only need to get a yard or two, where he's got that physicality and he's able to kind of punch the ball and get that first down. These are the kind of the guys that you need in your team, and that's maybe where he's going to fill in that void from where Zeke previously had done so. So interesting to see the next few games if that balance shifts a little bit, because it has been a bit one-sided. Like Pollard is still massively the rushing leader, and Lamb being the receiving yards leader. So yeah, see if that balance can be redistributed a wee bit.
Yeah. Okay, from an Eagles perspective, looking at the Cowboys team, what kind of things stand out for you as, like, I'm not going to say use the word like fear, but what sort of things, if you're looking at the Cowboys and thinking, we need to watch out for that on either side of the ball, what sort of things are you looking at?
Oh no, Dan, you can use the word fear. There's definitely fear. For me, again, going back to what Paul was saying, I don't think it's any coincidence that Cooks has started to roll now that Lamb is playing lights out football. I think that when you've got teams focusing so heavily on one weapon, then it's going to free up guys. And I mean, it's not like Cooks is a bad football player. He's not a bad wide receiver, so he maybe just needs that little bit more freedom to be able to produce what he's producing now. From my perspective, looking at it, I think from a Cowboys point of view, it is going to be the run game that's massive. I think our defense this season hasn't been great from a pass protection type angle, but we've been one of the top run Ds, and obviously you've seen what San Francisco done to us last week. If the Cowboys can establish their run game, then I do have fear for what might happen. But that's for me, the area where we have to focus and make sure that we're targeting that run and stopping that run. So on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Dallas is obviously one of the top defenses in the league, and from the review crew earlier in the season after a really disappointing game against the Jets, I said that my biggest fear is coming up against a really good defense, because I'd fancy the Eagles to win in a shootout against most teams, but if we're up against a really top D that stops our offense going, then that's when I worry. So again, I think for us, we've got to try and establish our run against the Dallas D, because again, the two games that we've really struggled. In fact, some of the games that we've won but struggled, it's really been a run game that we've no managed to get going. Even when we've not played well, there's always been good splash plays with Hurts throwing it downfield to AJ or Smith. That's it's maybe not always been as fluent as we'd like, but we've always managed to come up with those big plays. But where we have struggled, it's been when we just don't seem to be able to get the run established. So I mean, again, we need to try and target the Dallas defense with a run, try and get that going, and then we should be all right.
Great. Flip over to you, Kevin, now to talk about your own team. So let's be positive. So we've had lots of positivity for Paul about the Cowboys, and let's flip over. So give us your positivity about the Eagles. So how are the Eagles going to? What are the Eagles going to have to do to win this game then?
I think a lot. I think.
Paul, for Kev. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
You can come back in. You can come back in and respond, Paul, once I've had my say. For me, I mean, I did feel like I was being a bit negative and a bit doom and gloom when I was looking forward to this game because of the result we've just had. But I think, looking back at the Jets game earlier in the season, I was pretty negative after that because they done a bit of a number on us. And from the positive side, we came back from that and we've went in a really tough run of games. And picked up wins, and for the most part, obviously, with the exception of last week. So this team that we've got, I think our strengths are, they're really tough. They are positive. They've got a really strong mentality. They fight for each other. They find a way to win. That's definitely going to be needed in this game because we're coming up against a top team in the Cowboys, but the same could have been said when we went in to play against the Bills. The same could be said against playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, and even I joked about it after the Jets beat us. That don't worry, we'll be fine. We're only playing the Dolphins next. And obviously the Dolphins have been flying this season as well. But I genuinely meant that, because the Dolphins, aren't quite the same, tough outfit that the Cowboys are. So this one's definitely going to be tougher. And yeah, I think like I just said, talking about what Paul had been saying, for us, the key things are going to be, first of all, stopping the Dallas run game. San Francisco took us to bits. They took us apart because they're so strong across the board. They've got such a strong run game, and they've got great pass catchers. They've also got an outstanding tight end, and we just couldn't we just couldn't find a way to stop all that. I think like I said, if we manage to stop the run, our pass defense hasn't been great, but if you're not running all over us, then then we could be in with a shout. But if you guys get your run established, then we'll be in a bit of trouble. So I think for us, that's what we've got to do. And then similarly, we've got to.
Yeah, sorry, can I just jump in for 2 wee seconds? Sorry, we're going to go into individual players second with Paul. We've literally got Paul for another 2 minutes before he needs to go.
Right.
So,
no, 5 minutes. That'll be good. 5 minutes.
Paul, we'll just give you. We'll jump back to him in a second, Kev. Just like Paul. So, Paul, give us from a Cowboys point of view, what are you looking at with the Eagles this week?
So there's two key matchups I'm looking at, is Blankenship versus our tight ends and like Jake Ferguson and stuff like that in the middle of the field. I think Blankenship has been, like, regardless of what you were saying there, Kev, that there's been woes in your defensive backs this year. I think Blankenship has held that by far significantly fantastically. Like he was the guy that he won you that game. Back, was it week 12 or I can't remember when we played Jews last time, pretty much. And obviously Hassan Riddick versus Terrence Steele. I think that is the most important key matchup, because Riddick has always been laces out, playing really well against the Cowboys for the past couple of years now. So I think that's always going to be, like, whoever wins those key battles is going to really dictate that in terms of how it's going to affect other players and their morale. Like, if that gets sacked, then all the players are going to get down, etc., etc. But for the Eagles' defensive line, they're just fully stacked. Like, the defensive line should be named the Georgia Bulldogs, to be fair. Let's be honest. Like, because you've got Dean, you've got Jalen Carter, you've got Nolan Smith there. Like, all guys are like top 10 picks. Well, obviously, like with Kobe Dean, like, he dropped down because of the injury type of thing or whatever it was, but still a top player. So I think that's something that needs to really, like, with the time he's had, is to really evaluate and find gaps and creases there, how to expose that. So it's going to be a big ask for the Dallas offensive line, even though they have performed pretty well in the pass protection, but it's the run game. There has been times where, especially in the middle, where with like a Bayadish, either or if it's Tyler Smith or Syke Martin, there has been collapse gaps, especially for the A gaps and stuff like that, and that's where we're kind of struggling a little bit. But if it's the outside run, this is where Blankenship can really come down and actually make those big impact plays. So it's going to be a really interesting game, and honestly, I really don't know how this is going to play out. But obviously, I'm hoping we do win. But I think it's just going to be I think this is going to be the game of the season. I really do.
Right, Paul, just on that, you're not getting to sit on the fence. Give us a prediction before you go.
Okay, prediction. I'm going to say Cowboys 35, Eagles 31.
Ooh, close.
It's going to be a tooth and nail all the way to the end.
No, I've got my prediction at the end, Paul, but that's probably pretty much how I think all of us are going to go down that route. But Paul, thanks again for your time tonight. Much appreciated. Love having you on.
Absolutely.
I'm all for the Cowboys. It gives me back up there and again if another Cowboys fan. I'm not outnumbered. So I appreciate your time tonight, Paul. I hope everything goes well with the podcast. Folks, I am Peace Do on Twitter. We'll get you the shout out to you, Paul, and the UK Cowboys podcast. Go and enjoy yourself. You don't have to talk too much about the Eagles on that podcast.
That's what I'm going to be doing next. I'm breaking down everything. So, but anyway, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure, and hope to do it again soon.
Cheers,
Nice
Paul.
one.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Paul.
guys.
Thanks
Cheers,
for
Paul.
coming on.
See you later.
Yeah, Kev, I just had to get that in before Paul went away. Kev, continue.
Okay.
Sorry, where were you at? Sorry before I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I think I was just kind of repeating myself anyway. To be honest, Dan, I just I can't I can't say how much I feel like it's going to be decided on the run games for both sides enough. I really do think that that's going to be the key to this game. We've got to get a run going, and then we've got to try and stop you guys doing the same. Other than that, I've not seen the latest injury reports. I've got to hope that we're all fit and healthy. I don't know if Goddard's trending towards coming back this week, but that could be massive for us as well because we've really lacked that kind of safety net, a big tight end to make short gains down the middle of the field.
I'm just pulling the injury report up right now. Week 20, so week 14 of season 22 for some reason. I was pulled up the injury report, but it took me back to last season for some reason. I don't know why. Hey, right, where are we at?
The other thing, just you mentioned, Kevin, and sort of Paul, about the previous game. Like if the Eagles can kind of focus as much as they can on that previous matchup against the Cowboys, like they're capable of wins against that team. Try and put the game from last week against the 49ers to the back of your mind, like mentally, if they can push past that, because this is a team that's been used to winning this season, and they had a really tough outing last week. So that's going to be the biggest challenge. How will they bounce back against us? Because they've got a few interesting games. The last three of the season, like Giants, Arizona, Giants, is probably a bit more favourable for them, but this be tough stretch. I mean, at the Seahawks as well, who can be a wee bit hot and cold. This is certainly the toughest of the remaining regular season games that they've got.
Yeah. Just looking
I
at
think
sorry, Kev. Dallas Goddard was just going to practice.
Sorry, mate.
There you go. I was going to say Dallas.
I was just going to say I don't think that the schedule that we've had should go on unremarked as well. Like the game we just got beat up against the 49ers comes off the back of a really, really tough schedule, and it's inevitable that that's going to catch up with you at some point. The Niners came off a bye week. We've come off really, really tough games against the Bills and the Chiefs, and I think that another big factor in this match is going to be how we've recovered for that physically. And again, as I said, who's all fit and who's all feeling strong and capable. But I get that's another concern as well, is the fact that this is just off the back of another really, really tough game. So we definitely can beat teams at this level. We've proved it, by beating Dallas earlier, albeit at home, and also beating the teams that I've just mentioned. But beating them all one after the other, that's another matter entirely. So this could be another big game too far.
Yeah. But fatigue, definitely. That overtime win against Buffalo, I think, really showed against the 49ers. So that's definitely playing a factor here as well. It's getting to this really tough part of the season. They've had their bye as well, so they've not even got the luxury of a bye to maybe look forward to in the next week or so to try and push towards the playoffs. So it is going to be really tough, no doubt about it. It's a punishing schedule.
As in looking at it, you've got to always think people like I know he's lost to the Jets earlier in the season, but at the time that was a bit of an anomaly. It was a bit of a strange one. But now the manner of the way the 49ers won last week maybe has people like the Cowboys and teams maybe that are now looking towards the playoffs thinking this Eagles team can be beat. Do you know what I mean? It's not. It doesn't just have to be when the Jets. I think when they beat the Eagles, they just hung in the game. I remember watching. They just kept themselves in the game, and then they struck, and that's kind of how it worked. Whereas last week was a completely different ball game where
Yeah.
The Eagles weren't really in the game at all. So it does show teams, and you say, Kevin, probably a lot of it's probably down to fatigue and tiredness after coming off those games. But when you get to playoff football, you're playing week after week, and you could have a tough game one week, and then the next week you're up against another tough opponent straight away. So, and I've said all along that if the Cowboys have any thoughts of doing anything this season, we need to win this game. And not purely from a record point of view, because our record's good enough to get us into the playoffs, from a mentality. And I think the words I used the other week was change the narrative. The Cowboys can't win these big games. We need to win this weekend purely for that reason, and mainly, like, if we can win, the narrative completely changes on what this Cowboys team can do and could do. If we lose, it will be the same again. Prescott can't win big games, Cowboys can't win big games, and that narrative will just continue, and the negativity will continue into the postseason. Smudger, from an Eagles point of view, what have you liked?
The worry for me as well is,
There you go.
Well, I was going to say, Dan, that the worry is that, you were talking about there, like the Jets just, hung in the game, and then took their chance. The worry for me is that defeat that we just had against the 49ers was very, very different to, obviously, the previous defeat to the Jets, but also any defeat that we've had in the last couple of seasons, including the Super Bowl, because we've been in every single game. The ones that we've lost, but also, in fact, the ones that we've won, we don't very often blow teams away. I joke about it on the review crew every week. I say we just done enough. We just do enough, because no matter who we're playing, whether it is the Bills or the Chiefs, or whether it's a team with a losing record, we just seem to do enough. We never seem to win by 3 or 4 scores. So teams are always in the game against us, really, but we always seem to have that strength of character and that toughness, and come up with big plays at big moments, and all those sort of cliches. But for me, the worry is, we haven't had a defeat like that in a couple of years. These players haven't been blown away like that off anybody that I can remember in the last couple of seasons. So for me, the worry is how that affects us.
Well, John, I was going to come to you, but we'll just move on to predictions.
Go for it.
I was going to cover this game for. I'll go on. I'll give you 2 sentences about the Eagles. Go quickly.
No, I think because of the nature of the loss, Kev summarised it pretty well. Because of the nature of that loss and what teams saw from the 49ers, there are a lot of questions like have the Eagles been found out a bit? But I do think that there's a lot of factors in that game that probably flattered things a little bit on the Niners side and were a bit unfair on the Eagles side. So, my prediction for this game, I think it's. I do have to say I do fancy Dallas in this one. Sorry, Kev.
That's all right.
But yeah, there's a lot of positives I think the Eagles can take from their performance this season so far. But I just think that it's a tough one to go to Dallas to try and to get a win against a Cowboys team that is really finding really good form at the right point in the season. There's no doubt that the Eagles are still playoff bound, as we said, and they've got a nice kind of run in at least against you would say lesser opponents. So I think in this one though it's going to be a little bit too much of a test, especially after that defeat last week. So yeah, I'm going Cowboys win, probably similar to what Paul had said. So maybe round about the kind of 35 to 35-27, something like that.
Kev, what's your prediction?
Well, don't feel bad, Smudger, because if I was answering with my head and not my heart, then I'd probably say something similar. The Cowboys are putting up 30 plus points every time they play at home. And that's probably what most people would expect. But I'm not answering with my head. I'm answering with my heart. So I'm going to predict the Eagles to tough it out, and I'm going to say we win 27-21.
Okay.
I'm going to talk with my heart and my head. I think it'll be. Both teams will hang in there, but I think the fatigue will become a factor. I think come the end of the game, I think the Cowboys being that bit fresher, and as much as you called it last week with the 49ers, you said the 49ers with that rest, they're going to come off the bye. They're going to be, and I know we've not had a bye.
Were they on a bye, or was it just they played Thanksgiving? Was that was they'd had a wee bit more time. They'd had an extra day or two, but still was the difference maker.
Sorry, it's the same as the Cowboys this week, so that extra couple of days of rest, I think, will make a massive difference. And I'm going to go. I think both teams. I think the Eagles have got the chance to score points. They obviously didn't do it last week, but they've been doing it all season. I'm going to go 42-34 for the Cowboys. We go high scoring. I think the Cowboys could win. Well, anyway, that's a long time of calling. Right, let's flip over. Smudger, you come in. You're going to get the spotlight here. The Ravens, we've currently got Ravens on number 2 in the AFC, and Rams are sitting right on the bubble at 6-6. There's three NFC teams going for 2 spots really in this playoff race, on the 3 or 4. So talk us through the Rams at the Ravens, Craig.
I've been kind of doing a wee bit of digging into this one. I think it's the more I look into it, the more intrigued I am by it. The Rams, we've not talked a lot about the Rams this season, to be fair, so it's good that we're getting a wee bit of a chance to maybe focus a little bit more on them. On the positive side of things, they're on a 3-game winning streak. They've had some good wins, and they've looked an entirely different team since they've come off their bye week. Now, they did have a lot of kind of on and off injury issues that they were dealing with as well. But Stafford's come back and it is looking, it's playing really, really well. I think it was he had a hand injury that he was struggling with earlier on, was his thumb, or basically, a few games out, and he's looked a changed player since he's come back in. So that's been a massive factor, certainly. So whether they can continue that in this game against the Ravens, not so sure. They're sitting second behind the 49ers, but then you've got Seattle, they're also in 6-6. So yeah, can they do something in this next matchup? They've beaten Seattle, they've beaten Arizona, they beat Cleveland, which was probably quite notable. They had a tough Cleveland defence, putting a good performance against them. The other big positive, their rookie wide receiver Irn-Cru has been absolutely fantastic. He's had such an incredible start. Like his rookie year probably couldn't get much better, to be honest. I was looking at his stats. Like he's already had 5 100-yard plus games. He's topped 1,000 yards already for the season, and he's broken the rookie receiving record in Rams history. He's been such just a massive positive for the Rams, really. And similar to what we were saying earlier on, if you can get him and guys like Cooper Kupp, we all know how fantastic a player Cooper Kupp is. He's phenomenal, and if he can stay healthy, and you've got guys like Irn-Cru who have come in and have also shown the talent that they've got. I look around the league at other teams that have got similar dynamics, like the JJ and Addison at the Vikes this season, where you've had a rookie come in, their top wide receiver's been injured, he's had a chance to shine, and then the top wide receivers coming back, and all of a sudden you really get to see how they could potentially complement each other. So I'm pretty excited to see what the Rams could do from that side of things. We all want to see these top rookies playing well and not getting injured. I was gutted when we saw Tank Dell going down last week. Players like that have just been so good, like him and Irn-Cru have both been absolute standouts. They really, really have. So yeah, that's certainly the two guys I'm going to be particularly excited to watch from the Rams side of things. But where it does get pretty interesting is these wide receivers, the conditions they're going into. Like I'm looking at the possibility of it being pretty wet and pretty windy in Baltimore this weekend, and there was an interview with Lamar Jackson, and they were talking about the wet football drills that they've been doing, because it's going to be pretty tricky to chuck the ball if you do get difficult conditions like that. So that's where they might have to then start to lean more on maybe running the football, or you might see a few mistakes creeping in, tricky catches, fumbles, all these kind of things when the weather starts to get a little bit tough. So yeah, wide receivers, they might struggle a little bit, but we know that if you're Lamar Jackson and you can't chuck the ball, no problem. He's basically a running back. You know.
Yeah. Look, go back to your topic of receivers. I was just looking at the Rams receivers there. So the Q alone, so looking at the Q, he gets 77 receptions this season, right? Which, and this is the stat. This stat blew my mind around it. He gets 77 receptions. He's averaging 13.4 yards a catch on 77 receptions. That's ridiculous. It's just mental that he's going for that. His longest catch is 70 yards. Do you know what I mean? But the Rams wide receivers, obviously there's a couple in there that maybe are pulling the numbers down slightly, but even then, the Rams wide receivers are averaging 12 yards a catch.
Yeah.
So first down every catch. Well, first down plus 2 every catch. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they're doing well. I mean, obviously, the Cure, and he got injured that well, come in and done well as well. He's in a decent season as well.
That well, and even guys like Tyler Higbee as well. These are all guys that have been about and.
I was looking for that well stats. I couldn't find that well stats there because they've got listed by his actual proper name. I was looking for Tutu Atwell and I couldn't find them. It's Chitarius.
Yeah, it's safe.
So
everyone just calls him Tutu.
Yeah, and you were saying about the Rams on the ground. Williams has found his game. He's back in, and he's basically the ground running. Williams, he's 600 yards already.
Yeah, he's been another massive standout. Similarly, if they can get all these pieces healthy all at once, then there's every chance. Even on the other side of the ball as well, you've got future Hall of Famers. Aaron Donald is their standout defensive player. Of course, he is. He's only got 6 sacks in the season, though. To be fair, which maybe for his standards is not as many as he would have been hoping for, but. That's somebody that they're gonna try and lean heavily on if they're going to stay in contention in the NFC. If they're going to make a push, I mean this game against Baltimore is absolutely massive. There's no doubt about it. And looking at Baltimore, the teams that they've beaten so far and the form that they're starting to find as well. I mean the thing I was mentioning about Lamar Jackson and running the football, this is absolutely bonkers, right? So they're first in the NFL, the Ravens, for running the ball, for rushing yards, right? For comparison, right? So Lamar has 574 rushing yards this season so far, right? 574. That's more than guys like Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, Devon Achane. Okay, some of these guys haven't played every week. I'll hold my hands up there, but to have that kind of stat regardless, I think it's just utterly ridiculous. That the nearest quarterback to Lamar Jackson is Jalen Hurts with 430, Kev. So, and he's somebody that we know can be pretty mobile on his feet as well. But just the amount of rushing yards he's got, and compare that to Gus Bus. Like Gus Bus has 590. He's only 16 yards short of Gus Bus. It's just absolutely nuts.
So Gus has got 16 yards more on an extra 29 carries.
Aye, his yards per carry is way better.
It's just mental. I mean, it's crazy. It's just Kev, you're muted.
Aye, I'm saying I think 300 yards of Jalen Hurts have been brotherly shoves, though. You know.
Is there a yards per shove stat? Aye, that's good, but just 1 yard, just every time. It's just another yard. There we go.
They've done it that many times this year. You probably on the flipping over to the Ravens and Smudger. Obviously we just spoke about Lamar there, but in terms of the Ravens, what's working for them this season?
Ravens D is absolutely huge for them. First in sacks in the NFL. They're just. I'm looking at their stats here. First in the league for sacks, 45 sacks they've got. Madubuike leads with 10. He's been a massive standout player for them. So that's where they're going to cause the Rams a lot of problems. I think in Stafford a lot of issues. The fact that defense is so problematic, and if he's not getting the right protection there, then could see a lot of scrambling or potentially getting flattened. So Yep,
Yeah.
that's definitely where one side of where the Ravens really are standing out. They've lost Andrews, which was a big blow earlier on in the season. So you maybe expect then guys like Zay Flowers, even OBJ. The fact OBJ is a good topic actually, just because he's a former Ram. Actually, just he might end up having a wee bit of an incentive. He's always spoken pretty positively though about his time at the Rams. Won a Super Bowl obviously, and he's spoken really positively about his time there. So, but even so, you always want to.
There you go.
No, I was just saying, you always want to prove a point though as a player if you're coming up against one of your former teams. So yeah, possibly OBJ could be a good wee sleeper wide receiver to watch in this game. But Isaiah Likely's come in and I think he only saw maybe 4 targets last week, but I think he'll maybe see a little bit more as well, targets wise from Lamar, particularly if the conditions are a wee bit difficult. So yeah, see what happens there.
Yeah, just going back to OBJ, what I was going to say was he done it against the Browns. I know his time at the Browns was different, but he done like a touchdown against a former team. So yeah, it might be one for the anytime touchdown score this weekend.
Yeah,
Kev, have you seen much of the Ravens this season?
Yeah, I've watched quite a bit of the Ravens. Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with them. I'm a massive Lamar Jackson fan. I take him in any fantasy draft that I can, and he's looking like getting back to his MVP level best, and they have obviously backed him this year. They've got him weapons. They struggled a bit last year with their options at wide receiver, but I think the way that team's shaping up, they're definitely serious contenders this season.
So, right, let's get
absolutely.
predictions on this one. There you go, Smudge. What's your prediction for this one?
I cannot see past Baltimore. Just the stats don't lie. The fact that they are like miles ahead in terms of the rushing yards, passing yards, sacks in their defense, everything statistically points to the Ravens beating the Rams. But any given Sunday and all that, you just never know. But I have to go for a Ravens win in this one. Definitely, I would say it's probably Ravens by 2 scores. I would be my prediction.
Kev?
I'd like to see a shootout. I've got Cup and Jackson in my fantasy team, so
nice.
The more points scored, the better in this one. But I agree with Craig. Unfortunately, I see it being quite a comfortable victory for the Ravens. And I don't see it being that high scoring either. So I'd say, somewhere in the region of 24-13.
Yeah, I think the weather could play a big part in this game. If it does go, if it does go wet, then you're probably not going to see a high scoring game. And I think it sounds really daft, but I think the weather will determine this game. I think if it stays dry and it's a game where quarterbacks can't, I think the Rams will win it easy. If it becomes a running fight, obviously we've got Jackson and Edwards there for the Ravens. I think Williams could give the Rams a bit of an edge in terms of. I mean, I just looked at the stats here. The Ravens running D's, it's not the worst. I mean, but it's not the best either. They're rushing yards per opposition yards per rush, 22nd in the league. Rush yards per game, 11th in the league. They have limited the amount of TDs that running backs have got. So obviously our goal line defense is doing well. I'm going to go Ravens as well, but I think again I'm pretty sitting the fence here, and I can't. If it's dry, the Ravens win easy.
Curse it.
If it's dry, the Ravens win easy. If it's wet, the Ravens edge it. That's where I'm going with that one, mate.
Oh, wait a minute! I forgot about the rule of the curse. So you're saying if I had backed the Cowboys earlier, then we would have won?
Nice. There you go.
Why did I not go with my head?
I forgot to change the banner again. I keep every week too engrossing talk. I forget to change the banner. So we'll be talking about the Ravens and the Rams here with the Cowboys banner at the bottom. Right, guys. We're going to bring back my favourite part of the podcast. It's the third and top 10. And we've got a lot of time, so we're not going to spend a lot. So basically, what I'm going to do is for folks that haven't listened or watched before, basically I come up with a topic and basically top 10 answers. The guys have got to guess them. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to give you 3 guesses each because we want to try and make this as quick as possible, right? What I want is, and this is regular season only, all right? The best win-loss records in the history of the NFL by percentage, win percentage. So like you're like 500,
right?
So the top 10 teams in the NFL by winning percentage in their history.
Just right, okay.
So we'll do one
just
each.
in the history of each team, regardless of how long the franchise has been going for.
On the win percentage. So
Ooh.
if you win a game, on the win percentage. So what I'll do is do one each 3 times. So Smudge, you can go first.
We counting this season?
No, sorry. Up until the end of last season. Sorry.
Okay, all right. In that case, we'll get a chuck the Patriots in there if you're not including this season. Not that it would make much of a difference because there's such a winning franchise, but you've got to drop them in there.
Number 4.
Okay,
Kev.
4. Thought they would have been higher than that. But...
0.559.
Okay. Right, go on, Kev.
I'm gonna say it so Dan doesn't get to. And I'm assuming there's a reason he's picked this question. I would say America's team, the Cowboys.
I actually didn't look at it. I actually picked the topic before I looked at the stats because I knew it would be an easy and a quick one to do. But yes, the Cowboys
are the number 1.
They are number 1.
You definitely saw that before you thought, I'm well picking that.
I just knew. Cowboys, number 1, 0.576. I should say, sorry, the Patriots played 983 games and have won 545. Cowboys have played 981, won 562. Right, so back to yourself.
I'm going to go for a homer pick. Going to go for the Vikings.
Number 8, 0.551. 976 played, 5321. Hey, 5321. There you go. Get back to yourself.
All right, I'm going to go for the Steelers.
Oh, sneaking out number 10. 0.536. Played 1,271 games, won 670. Smudgy, your last guess?
I'm between 2. And I'm going to go with this one, just one for the longevity and Super Bowls. It pains me to say it, which is why I should probably go for my other guess, which was the Chiefs. But I'm going to go for the Packers, and I know they're probably going to be in there.
Packers.
That was my last guess.
Packers are number 2 in the list with 0.569. Played 1,435 and won 798.
Yeah. Right. Oh, you can take my other guess then, Kev.
Kev, go for
it. Let me see. I don't know. Is there a minimum amount of games they have to have played? Is there a?
No. This is just in their history because it's by win percentage.
So
right,
but there's no like trick teams in here that's only played one season. No.
No, it's actually just by the win percentage in their history of being a franchise.
Right. I say if it was last year, he could have picked the Commanders.
Right, for my last guess, I'll go the Giants.
Ooh, number 11.
Oh, Kev, so close.
0.528. Played 1,404 and 1,724. Right, just shout
Dolphins,
random names.
maybe.
Dolphins, yes. Dolphins number 7.
Right. I was going to guess Chiefs. Are the Chiefs in there?
Chiefs number 5, yeah. So you
get, who else? I think. Did you guess the Eagles?
We've got 7 so far then. We've got 7 if you count the Dolphins and the Chiefs.
You get 2
Cowboys, Packers, Pats, Chiefs.
Yeah.
Vikings and Steelers.
There you go.
Jets.
40 seconds. Sorry?
I don't think
no.
If it's not the Giants, I don't think it'd be the Jets either. Who else?
These are probably 2 of the teams that have probably played some of the most amount of games in the NFL, actually. One of them I think actually might be the most.
49ers?
Sanfran, 49ers.
49ers, yes, number 9.
Okay.
And this team, let me just double check. This team have played the most games ever.
Ever?
The Lions?
Yep. Nope.
Most games?
Right. You 3 seconds. Quick, fire a name at me.
Colts?
Oh, just like
No.
old teams.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
The Eagles.
Bears.
Ah, of course it is.
Bears! Ah!
Ah, of course it is. They've got like the oldest stadium ever. Aye, okay.
I'm glad we didn't get that one.
Grant will be
guys,
kicking us if we didn't get that.
Let's do
Bears.
That was good. I like that one. That was a good one. I'll come up with another one for next time. I was just trying to think another week. I said to Stu, but we go to 2 deep dives at this point in the season, bringing another wee feature. I think the third and top 10 coming back is a good one. Fills a wee bit of space, but it's quite good. Right, guys. Fantasy Stud and Sleeper. Let's rattle through this quickly. I'll pick up the running backs and the defences. Craig, who's your quarterbacks?
Sweet. Okay. He was basically the hot topic on the review crew. So I'm jumping on that bandwagon. I've got to say a wee bit. I'm going for Jordan Love. I think he's been brilliant, really, and that pains me to say it as a Vikes fan because he's pulled Green Bay back into contention in the NFC North as well. But his stats don't lie. His fantasy points have been he's averaging just under 22 fantasy points per game in his recent games. He's also ranking in the top 5 QBs. So again, fancy him this week. So yeah, he's my stud.
Especially against the Giants.
Well, aye, exactly against the G. But let's not rule out the G-men entirely. Let's get some
defensive side of the ball.
Let's give some DeVito love as well. Come on.
Aye, that's fine. But Jordan Love's playing against the defense, though, not against Tommy DeVito.
Aye, that's true. That's true.
Who's your sleeper?
Who's my sleeper? Garner Minshew. He was Minshew mania is a roller coaster. You never know what Minshew you're going to get, but I'm hoping that he can build on that standout performance that he had last week. So I think there's going to be another wee bit of Minshew mania because he's up against the Bengals and they've not got Burrow, and I don't think they're going to do particularly much on that side of the ball. So I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Minshew to shine. So yeah, he's my sleeper. If you could call him a sleeper, it's tough because I was looking at all these other like backup QBs that we've got, but some of the matchups I was like, I honestly don't know who to pick here. They could be utterly terrible. So I've gone for a wee bit of safe bet there. I hope.
Cool. Running backs, I'm going to go. It's a tough one. Stud. I think I always just have either pick 2 people that are studs and try to put them into one in each, or pick 2 people that are sleepers and try to put them into one each. So I'm going to go with stud. I'm going to go with Mattison. I'm going to put my faith in Mattison this week against the Raiders. I've also got my fantasy team and I need to win this week. So
I hope you're right.
So it's the guys. He's due a big game, to be fair.
Well, aye.
Sleeper. Tough one. I'm going to go. I mentioned them already. He's not really a sleeper, but I'm going to fire in his Williams for the Rams. He's up against that tough Ravens D. Yeah, I'm going to go with him as my sleeper. Okay, wide receivers.
Wide receivers. Do you know when I see you guys doing this every week, I'm always screaming out like, don't go for the obvious one, but I think wide receiver, stud. He's gunning for that 2,000-yard season. They're going to go for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, your sleeper.
His choice, but he's
and
so
my
good.
Sleeper, my sleeper, think I'm going to go for a bear. I'm going to go for DJ Moore. I think it's a favourable matchup for him this week, and I think he could have a big game.
Perfect.
Nice.
Back to tight ends.
You'll like this one. I've gone Jake Ferguson, tight ends. I think he's got a brilliant matchup in this game. He was brilliant. He was brilliant against the Eagles in the last game, so I think he's
good.
Potentially going to be another standout. So yeah. And Yeah, Philly against Titans fantasy-wise, yeah, they're scoring at least double-digit points in the last 5 games. So, yeah, I think Ferguson, he's shown what a talent he is, and he's definitely a favoured target for Dak. So, yeah, going for Jake Ferguson. And then we've kind of talked about him a wee bit already, but yeah, my sleeper tight ends is likely. We talked about Andrews being out for the Ravens. He had his first full game without Andrews last week, and he only saw 4 targets, but I think he's going to see more in this game, particularly if he's not going to be throwing as many deep balls because of potentially it's going to be a wee bit dodgy weather-wise, so maybe a wee bit of safety valve there. So yeah, I'm going to chuck Likely in there as a sleeper tight end to keep an eye on.
I think Jake Ferguson must have the longest streak in crew history for being on stud or sleeper.
And he's never let us down.
Who picks him every week? I pick him every week in the youth. Yeah. I think that's the first time he's been in a stud position, though. He's normally a sleeper. So.
He's been promoted.
Defences, I think it's not an easy pick, but I think it's one of the easier ones this week. So, stud defence, I'm going to go with the Steelers. Playing the Patriots, I think it's an obvious choice.
Hard not to pick them, to be honest.
Yeah. So Steelers for the stud. Sleeper, whether it's a sleeper or not, I'm going to go with the Packers against the Giants.
You could have picked the Steelers or the Pats defense as your stud defense, because it's probably going to be like a 3-3 tie or something this game. It's just going to be like no points scored whatsoever.
I wish you could get points for your punters.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with the Packers against the Giants. I know we've got a bit of Tommy DeVito love, but I just think that the Giants, they're doing okay with him, but I think the Packers defense should be able to handle them. Kev finishes off with the kickers.
Stud kicker. I'm going to have to go for a homer pick. Going to go for Jake Elliott. He's my stud. Need a big game from him. He scored some outstanding field goals this year, and we're going to need him to come up big, I think, in this one if we're going to get the win, the 27 points that I predicted. And then my sleeper's going to be Will Lutz.
Kev,
what?
Can I chuck something in though for sleeper kicker?
Yeah.
The Rams signed Mason Crosby this week to their practice squad, and he might get elevated. So I think he's a great shout for a sleeper as well, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
That would be a sleeper and a half. Nah, I'm going Will Lutz.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, that's a good matchup he's got there against the Panthers. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I agree on your stud pick as well, because all he's going to get is field goals. He's not going to be kicking any extra points. He can score as many field goals as he wants, as long as there's not any extra points he's putting on the board as well. So 27 points, you're going to hope he kicks 9 field goals. Guys, thanks for tonight. It's been a great show as always. I love the Thursday chat. It is great. It's good to have you on the Thursday chat, Kev. Hopefully we can entice you back soon with nonsense that we talk.
Oh, thanks for having us on, man. It's been good. I've enjoyed it.
At least one of the brothers made it.
Exactly.
Smudger, as always, I know you threatened to leave the Thursday crew this month, but thanks for joining us.
Listen, I always enjoy the Thursday chats. But like December's mental. It's mental for everyone, but I will always try to jump on and have a blare with you boys. Always enjoy it.
Yeah, so it was always a good laugh on a Thursday night. Folks listening, watching, thanks for tuning in tonight. Again, guys, thanks for doing the at the start of my cleats. We're going to get some stuff on the socials with that over the next couple of days. Leave it with me. I'll try and work some magic with the AI generators. Thanks, everybody, for watching, for listening. Remember, catch us on all the socials. Follow us at Irn-Cru on pretty much everywhere. Anywhere you can find a social media account, we've got one. And also wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything like that, catch us all there. If you want to get involved, let us know what you want us to talk about next week. The guys will be back on Monday with the review crew. Hopefully I get a victory Monday and Kev doesn't. But thanks for joining us tonight, guys, folks.